Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking about the three problems in most contractors' businesses and then of course how to solve them. And the three problems are you're not getting enough leads, pretty self-evident, right? Like your business isn't getting enough leads. Number two is your pricing too low. Number three is you look the same and you talk the same as everyone else. And then a fourth bonus piece is yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, if you don't have the skills, the beliefs, character traits in order to run your company, then none of this other stuff really matters because you're the leader, right? You make the decisions, you choose who to hire, you choose what strategies to implement, etc. So let's get into it. So first off, why should you care what I have to say? And I just want to tell you a very little bit about myself, and then you could decide for yourself. So this is me here over on the left. My name is Tyler Link. And over the past 6 years, I've spent the majority of my time building up a concrete and landscape company to $4 million. And the other big piece of that, and the other big piece of what I'm trying to solve for you guys in today's video, is not just building up a big business. Because it's kind of funny, because when I say that sometimes I get some flack from people saying, man, I don't want to own that type of business because I don't want all the types of headaches. So this is what I want to preface it. How I was able to build up a $4 million company that runs without me, okay? And that's kind of the cool thing that I want to share in today's video is these three things that I'm going to talk about. You need to solve all three, and that is what unlocks the potential growth and the profitability of a business that can run without you one day, right? So think of time and financial freedom. So that is what I've been able to build up over the past 6 years, and I want to make this video so hopefully I can shortcut your journey to get to that much faster, okay? So my goal. The three killers, I want you to understand, if you don't have all three, you may as well have none. Like, I'm not even kidding, and I'm going to prove that to you by the end of this video. So let's think about something very simple like concrete, right? Imagine concrete if you only had cement and water. Well, why do we actually put aggregates in concrete? It's so that we decrease the amount of shrinking. It's so that we increase the amount of strength. And basically, if you just do cement and water, you're going to have a crap product. That's probably your best combination of the two. Because imagine all you had is cement and aggregates, no water, right? Then what would you have? Powder. It's like powdery and rocky mess. Imagine aggregates and water, so rocks and water. What is that? That's basically a river, right? So if you want to have this finished product, like concrete, then you need to add the water, the cement, and the aggregates. And if you don't have all three, you may as well have none, right? Just like a good recipe. So that's my goal, is to show you the three pieces and then show you why all three are not independent of each other. They all work together. So again, here's the three problems in most contractors' businesses, and the first one that we're going to tackle is themselves. And this is something that I put together that I learned from Alex Hormozi, and this is why behavior change is so important. So ever wonder why some people, they can lose literally everything? Let's say they go through a recession, they lose their business, they have to restart, and all of a sudden they can build a business back up again to that same exact level as they used to be, except they could do it way, way faster. And why is that? Your business can only grow to the level of that you are as a person, right? So let's just say you have level 10 skills. You know how to do sales, you know how to do pricing, you know how to hire people, you know how to do everything. You are a level 10 entrepreneur. But let's just say you're level 6 in character traits. Maybe you're a little bit lazy, maybe you don't have the best morals, whatever, right? And you're a level 6. But you're only a level 3 on beliefs. Well, that means, and what I mean by beliefs, by the way, is it doesn't matter, by the way, if you're a great salesperson and you can train a salesman, if you have the fundamental belief that the only person that can sell a product in your business is you, well, guess what? Your business is only going to get a certain amount because you don't believe that someone else can do it. You kind of see what I mean? Or for instance, if you're looking at me like I'm a crazy person and you're like, Tyler, there's no way no one can own a contracting business and they're not a part of it at all, blah, 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 blah. And you immediately shut it down, right? If you shut that thought down, then your business is only going to grow to the level of the belief that you allow it. And the same thing. Let's just say if you believe all the things to be true, but you have no skills, you don't know how to market, you don't know how to sell, you don't know how to do anything, well, guess what? Your business is still going to suck, okay? So this is why behavior change is so important. And also, I want to remind you guys, because this is very important, that the difference between the bottom 1% and the top 98% is actually less of a difference than the top 98% to the top 100%. Meaning, the top 2 to 5% of entrepreneurs, they get 99% of the results, okay? And that's true about most things in life. Think about, say, for instance, Elon Musk compared to your average person. It's like his results are literally, I don't know, billions to one, right? That's the ratio. So, and this same thing applies in the contracting space too. It's just a reminder that you need to focus on yourself as the business owner, right? Because without that, without learning the skills, changing your mind, having the right beliefs, having the right skill set, having the right character traits, without that, none of this other stuff matters. So that's the foundation, okay? So I don't want to spend too much time on that because that's not very tactical and I don't want to make a mindset video. So let's get into some of the actual problems that people are facing. Let's just disregard the themselves part, right? And we're going to move on. So number one, not enough qualified leads. So right off the bat, I know you may be asking, or you may be saying this in your head. You may be saying, Tyler, I'm already busy enough, so why would I want more leads, right? And here's the thing that most contractors get wrong, is that the 80-20 rule. So it's that 80% of their results come from 20% of their jobs, okay? So for instance, most contractors, they get just enough leads to sell as many people as they possibly can. So for instance, they're like, oh man, I need 10 jobs a month and I have a 33% close percentage, so I need 33 leads, right? Because you go 33, you sell a third of them, 10, whatever, or 30 to 10. So here's the problem with that though. One is there's two types of customers, and one of them is a pain in the butt. They take up all of your time and effort because they're a nuisance, and they don't pay that much, okay? So let's just investigate that here real fast. So there's two types of customers. Let's talk about the cheap customer first. So what does the cheap customer care about? They care about things like price. But they still want a great product. Isn't that funny? Most people don't understand, even if they're cheap, that, like, for instance, if someone buys a Honda and it's cheaper, they still expect that freaking Honda to last forever, right? But here's the thing, it's a lot easier to do in manufacturing versus services. If someone wants a cheap fence, they're going to still expect it to last a long time, okay? So they're very demanding. And they still expect great service, which is funny because they're like, I don't know. They just don't get it, right? They don't get how business works, and that's fine. Character traits. They don't have very much money. They mainly do stuff out of need or necessity, and they look at you like a cost, not an investment, okay? So because of that, they micromanage you. They always want the cost less because they think the cost has nothing to do with the product they get or the service. And they'd prefer to handle certain things themselves versus the affluent customer. Think of this person as the type of person who's already made it in life. Maybe they have a corporate job, making a ton of money. What are some of the things they care about? Because they're busy, okay? They're busy and they don't want headaches because their life is already a headache and they have money. So they want to trade their money for less headache, right? So they care about things like service, quality, warranty, looks. They have more money and they care more about the time and effort that something costs them, and they want great things, not just okay. One of the biggest things that I see most contractors doing is they sell to the cheap customer because they don't understand that there's this other type of customer. Why? Because most contractors are cheap. Why? Because a lot of contractors are broke. And so they sell out of their own wallet, right? So, and trust me, I used to do the same thing. When I used to give someone a price of like $10,000 for a driveway, it would make me gulp because I had no money. So I was like, how does this person have $10,000 to give me for a driveway? It doesn't make any sense, right? But anyways, there's two types of customers. So we want more leads because at the end of the day, imagine if all you could work for was this type of customer, the affluent customer, right? Not the cheap customer. So let's do a quick mind exercise. Just imagine in your head the type of job, because we've all had these, right? We've had certain jobs where we finished, we go to collect the check from a customer, and we are ecstatic, right? And why, right? Why are we excited about that type of job? It's because it was probably a larger job, but it wasn't too big. It wasn't too big to the point where you couldn't handle it. It was for customers to value you and your service. And it was a job that, say, for instance, you priced high. Maybe you went into the bid and you felt confident. So imagine if you filled out your schedule with not just everyone who would buy from you, right? Think about both the types of customers. But imagine if every single job that you put on your calendar was the right type of job. Okay, that's why we want more leads, because we don't want to close 30 to 40%. I hear all the time when contractors are like, I close 30 to 40% of people. And I'm like, man, that is not 100%, because maybe you're the best salesperson on the planet. But if you're accepting just anyone who calls you for a quote, then most likely all you're doing is you're just keeping busy. You're not putting the 20% of jobs that are the best jobs on your calendar. 80% of the jobs that are on your calendar are crap, and the other 20 are where you actually make your money. But imagine if you could fill up your calendar with the best jobs, okay? Why else? Because you have to grow. Again, what I was like what I was telling you guys before. A lot of you guys, if you don't want to get to a certain point where the business runs without you, then this does not matter, okay? So again, this can help you and this training will still help you, but it's really for the type of person who wants a business that runs without you. And why? Because if you own $1 million business, can you make a good living? Sure. But can $1 million business support a whole entire team that's going to run the business for you? This is how I set up my team at my concrete and landscaping company. I have the owner, aka me, right? And I hired an operation manager to run the business. This is also where a lot of people go wrong though. They think that this operations manager, they expect the operations manager to be a salesperson, to be a project manager, to be the one sending out invoices, to literally do everything. If you guys ever find that person, let me know, because they are a unicorn. And by the way, if this person could do literally every single thing inside the business, then why would they work for you? Okay, so keep that in mind. So you have to grow to a certain size in order to basically have a business that can run without you, right? This is the way that I set mine up. I got an owner, and then I have an operations manager, and they manage the managers, right? They manage the sales team, the project manager, the office manager. Then the project manager manages crews 1 through 4. To get to where I'm at, you might need a 5th crew. Just kind of depends on how big your crews are. And then even within each crew, there's a foreman, right? So think about it that way. So why do we need so many leads? Because we have to be able to grow. Because at the end of the day, the goal is to build a business big enough where you have a business, not a high-paying job, right? That's why you want more leads. So now let's talk about how. This is how the standard contractor gets jobs. They do referrals and word of mouth. Maybe they do a little bit of SEO, or they do a little bit of ads, or they do a little bit of Nextdoor, or they do a little more of one other thing. It's like they do 2 things, and that's it. Then they generate website and phone calls. Then it goes to an estimate sale. Let me show you guys a visualization of what I do inside my business and what we help people with at Contractor CEO, okay? This is what the top 1% do, okay? And I know right now this looks a little bit like a cluttered mess, okay? But the point that I want to illustrate, at least for right now, is all of these things complement each other. For instance, if you are a standard contractor and someone gets referred to you, but for instance, we've all been referred by a friend to something, and then we call that person and we're like, man, they're not as good as what they say they are. And then they do some research on you, and maybe you have a website and there's not that much on you. So who do you think makes more money, this person or this person? Let's say, for instance, someone discovers you on social media. They see you posted on Facebook or Instagram. Then they go to Google and they Google you and they're like, oh my God, their website's amazing. They've got like 70 5-star reviews. Then they go into your website and they see, oh my God, their blog is great. They have all this content, all this stuff for me. And then they get retargeting through a paid ad, and they see you on Facebook with a paid ad. So who do you think makes more money? This person or this person? This person, right? Because here's the thing, guys, is all of these strategies compound upon each other. Having social media and paid ads is better than just social media or just paid ads. Isn't that cool? Because again, if someone sees you on social media, then a paid ad, now they've seen you twice. Now you look way more legit. Now you look like a bigger and better company, and you increase the trust that that person gives you. Okay? Let's actually break this down. So again, we already talked about why we want leads, and we talked about, okay, how to get more leads. My argument to you is we have to do more strategies. And this doesn't have to be you. Remember, at the very beginning, I talked about skills and beliefs and all that. At the end of the day, you don't have to be the one that implements all this, right? That's the whole reason why Contractor CEO exists. There's other agencies, you could hire someone, etc. But let's just go through it. These are some of the things that we do. These are what I call my free strategies, okay? So it's like posting on Facebook, posting on Instagram, doing things like posting on Yelp and Nextdoor. You could generate referrals. A lot of people, they think referrals are passive, but imagine if you took an active approach, how many more referrals / word of mouth you get, right? If you go to networking events and you meet more people, well, now more people can refer you, because all of a sudden, all these people that you meet at these networking events, they can now say, oh my God, I just met someone that did concrete the other week. You should call them. Imagine if you finish a job and you send a thank you card, and a genuine thank you card. Will that person be more likely to refer you? Yes or no? Yes. Check-in calls. 6 months after the job, hey Joe, just calling in. Just wanted to check on how your landscape was doing, right? All these things increase referrals word of mouth. Partnerships. How many real estate agents are you partnered with? For me, I'm in concrete. I partner with pool builders. They build the pool. I do the concrete pool deck, right? I guarantee you, whatever you're doing, there are certain other people in your area who can refer you work, and you just have to build that connection. Email, text. Are you emailing your list? Are you promoting? Are you doing educational content to them? Are you sending reviews, local events, blah, 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 right? Free strategies. That's all of them. Paid strategies. This is the other thing that cracks me up. People think that there's like one way to do paid ads. They're like, oh, I only do Facebook and Instagram, or I only do Google, I only do Yelp, I only do Nextdoor. Maybe all they do is SEO, right? Even within SEO, what actually is that? That's building off-page blogs, blog writing on your own website, on-page SEO, Google My Business optimization, directory listings. Then you have direct mail, brand. I don't have a ton of time to go into all of these today, or I shouldn't say I don't have a ton of time, but the whole point of the video is to show you guys how the whole puzzle works together. This would be days and days worth of content if we dove into every one of these things. By the way, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Obviously, if you guys are watching this, because that's the whole purpose of the rest of the videos, is to talk about, the how on these. Other less effective, obviously, you do things like door knocking, pay per lead, etc. Okay? We already talked about the first ladder, right? Most contractors are not getting enough leads. They're not getting enough leads because they're simply just not doing enough. Okay? They're not doing enough, and I showed you guys on how I do it in my business and what we help people do at Contractor CEO. And remember, I said not enough qualified leads because we want the best jobs, not just any job on the calendar. Okay, let's move to the second problem, which is pricing is too low. And when I first started my business, I asked myself this question, but why? Shouldn't I be being fair to the customer? As in, if you're charging more than your competition, you're ripping them off. And then I learned that that is 100% not true, that charging more to the customer is, and I should say the right customer, charging more for the right customer is actually helping them. And let me explain that, okay? So this is the virtuous versus vicious cycle of price that I, again, learned from Alex Ramosi. And I stole his little infographic thing. So this is for gyms, just so you guys know, but it could be applied in any business. So let's go through this. So when you first start and you have a tendency, you want to decrease price. This is most people's model when they start out in business. They say, I want to do the same service and have the same products, but I want to do it for less, right? More for less. That's my pitch. I'm going to do more for you for less money. Hire me, right? Well, here's the problem. When you charge less, you decrease the emotional investment on your customers' end, right? Like, what does someone care more about, right? We all have a coffee mug, but then what if you went to, like, I don't know, you went to Italy and you had a custom-made coffee mug that cost $100 and it was like super cool. Which one do you care more about? The $5 Walmart mug or the $100 custom made one? Of course, the better one, right? So when you charge less, you automatically decrease the emotional investment that you're going to give your customers. Same thing, right? If you're charging less, your customer is going to look at that as being cheap. Again, do you guys ever go to a store and you look at two things and they look the same and there's one that is more expensive? You might not buy the more expensive one, but you're cognizantly choosing to buy the cheap one, and therefore you view it as cheap. So it lowers the value. You decrease the results, right? Like, how are you supposed to have the best product in the world if you're lowering your price? You're going to increase the demandingness of your customer. We've all heard this, but customers who want cheap work done, they watch over you like a freaking hawk, and they are absolute nightmares and nuisances. If you don't believe in this, then you obviously haven't ran a business, okay? So you're going to increase the demandingness from your customer. And revenue for fulfillment, we don't need to talk about that. And then just think about flipping this on the inverse. So if you increase your price, you increase the emotional investment, increase the perceived value, increase the results you can get for your customers, and you decrease the demandingness, okay? So that's why you want to increase the price, all right? So why does the most expensive contractor get the best customers? So isn't that kind of crazy? So I remember when I was just starting out as a contractor, I have this one competitor, and they still exist. And I remember that they sucked. I was like, this guy sucks at what he does. Why does he get all of the best customers? And just remember, perception is reality in our world, okay? And this is what I want to do to illustrate this. They ran an experiment where they would taste test 2 different bottles of wine, One, before they even gave the wine, they asked the customers, if you could get this bottle of wine and it wasn't you paying, basically like, which one do you want more? Almost every single person said they want this bottle of wine more, right? And why? Because it costs more. So people want it more because they're like, ooh, it's more valuable, right? This is the other crazy part, is people who drank this wine, even though it was the same as this wine, rated this one higher. Why? Because they thought it was going to be better. And so, same thing. Why do the most expensive contractors get the best customers? Because the best customers want to work with the best contractors. And one of the differentiating signs of how they're going to look at you is they're like, well, if this contractor is charging $5,000 for this driveway, and this one's charging $6,000, this $6,000 guy must be better, right? So what kind of customers would choose the $10 bottle? They don't care about the product. They'd swap it out for less expensive product. They look at it as an expense versus an investment, right? Why would someone choose the $25 bottle? They care more about the product. They want the best wine. They care more about the experience and status, okay? This last piece, status, all right? People want to be perceived as smart and intelligent. So an affluent customer, right, they're going to want a better product because all of their rich friends are going to come over and they say, check out my new driveway and blah, blah, blah. Like versus the cheap customer, they actually will view that as losing status because if they tell all their cheap friends how much they spend on your driveway, their cheap friends are like, what are you, an idiot? Why would you ever spend that much? Kind of crazy how much that matters. And then also this is the business end. So we talked about the customer, here's the business, okay? When you raise your prices, you can profit more. And when you profit more, it's not just about you being a selfish prick, right? It's really not. And this was my biggest mindset thing to overcome. I never wanted to be a ripoff. I was like, everyone who prices higher is a ripoff because they want more profit. So they're greedy. No. Why do I want to profit more as a business owner? Number one is I could provide a better service. Who can provide a better service? Someone that charges more or less? Obviously more. Why? Because they have more margin. You could hire better team members. You could hire more team members. You could increase your service level. Is your sales team, are they going to be more comfortable selling you if you're expensive or not as expensive? Believe it or not, it's if you're expensive. Because again, it's all the things that come with it. They say, man, we have such a track record of great results. We have the best team on the freaking planet, etc. So it helps your business and your team and all of that, okay? And this is lastly, ultimately, the business that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins, right? Because if you have a great business, a great team, a great product, everything is great. But if I can spend more than you to generate noise, to generate attention, to generate visibility online, then who do you think is going to win in business? Me or you? As much as we'd all like to think that you would win because let's just say you have a better product than me, a better team, etc. In reality, I would win because I could spend more to acquire a customer. I could spend more. Let's just say if you finally, oh my God, man, I know I'm not very profitable, but I finally found an A player. Well, guess what? At the end of the day, if I make more money, I can go steal that A player from you. Why? Because I could pay them more. So you do not want to be the low price business. It does not help you. It does not help your team, and it does not help your customer. And also remember, what I'm saying, charge more. You don't have to charge 1,000% more to make more money. This is an example of how even charging 20% more is good. Because remember, if you charge 20% more, that doesn't mean that you're only going to make 20% more profit. Let's just say if you have this job, this is how you typically price. You got $10,000 of revenue, $3,000 was your labor, $4,000 materials, overhead was $2,000, you profit $1,000, right? Boo. Technically, your gross profit was $3,000 after overhead, net income's $1,000, okay? But anyways. Now, we raised the price, all things stayed the same, labor, materials, overhead, everything stayed the same. And your profit 3x'd. It didn't go up by 20%. If it went up by 20%, it would have went from 1,000 to 1,200. But your profit, your bottom line, 3x'd. And then remember, it's not about keeping that. It's what we could use that profit for. Buy better team members, buy better product, better service. Exactly. So how to know exactly what to charge. Very, very briefly, I want to show you guys how I actually do this in my own business. Most people in the market, they say, oh, well, I go to the market and I charge the going rate, right? I charge the going rate. Dumb. Because what does the going rate have anything to do? All you're doing is you're copying all of your broke competitors. So again, race to the bottom. this is how to actually charge in your business. Again, I'm sorry, we don't have a ton of time to go into this super in depth, but I am coming out with more videos, and I have some videos going into this. So step one, record all of your overhead, right? So how much are you spending on unbillable time, warranty, small equipment? You guys can kind of take a look at this. I just did a sample for you. Now you got admin. Let's just say you as the owner take $70,000 and you have an office manager that you pay $50,000. Don't forget to add depreciation, aka all of your equipment and your vehicles. And now we're gonna go to, okay, how many people do you actually have working with you? How much do you pay them per hour? And how many hours are they working on the job per week? As a business, as a contractor, all that we're really selling is our time or our employees' time, okay? So in this business model, we're selling our time as the owner, working 9 months a year. Let's just say you have a seasonal business, 25 hours a week, because and you're not paying yourself hourly, because remember, you already accounted for yourself in the salary portion, which was here, okay? Then you got 3 guys working for you 9 months a year, 45 hours a week, and you have labor burden. Unfortunately, business owners, we have to pay taxes on top of labor, so not fun. Now we have something called production capacity. So target billable hours or total hours, just think of that as we only have a certain amount of time in the year. So that's the amount of time that we could spend working on projects. If you sold $1 billion contract, that doesn't matter if you have a team of 4, because that's going to take you freaking 1,000 years to complete that $1 billion, right? So that's why that really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's about how much work can you complete and then what do you charge for that. So in this business, let's just say that we're going to charge $70 an hour, right? That seems pretty fair. We're going to charge double what our labor costs us. Oh, let's see how it works out, okay? So we're going to go to projected P&L. This business model, you would sell $700,000, sounds pretty good. But then by the time that you get down to the very bottom, you're losing money. Damn, okay? Damn. So we have an option. You could either increase the amount of people that are working for you. So let's just say we're going to put another person, and remember, we have to sell these jobs too, so you're probably going to have to increase your marketing. But for simplicity's sake, now instead of that $700,000, adding that extra person, now we can do $180,000 of more revenue, and we're going to make 75 grand. Not bad. Or let's just say instead of charging that $70 an hour, now we're going to charge $100 an hour. Okay. So at the very top, we go from $700,000 all the way to $982,000 with the same team by changing literally nothing, okay? The only thing that changed is how much we're charging our customer. And you have to be able to sell this too, which we're gonna get into. Now you make a 20% net profit, and you're paying yourself $70,000 salary, and the business is net profiting $200,000. So who do you think is gonna win in the long term? This business or the other business? This business. Because I could hire more, I could bring on better staff, I could grow, I can invest in the business, etc. So as far as how we charge, then I just break that down, right? This is how we charge. Let's just say I had 1,000 square foot. Let's just do this. 500 square foot driveway. Basically what we do is we take all of our materials, we multiply that times our material markup. For me, 1.3 or 1.4. Then I take the amount of hours that we have, and I multiply that by whatever I figured out in this spreadsheet, right? $100 an hour, $90 an hour, $70 an hour, whatever it is. Just keep in mind, the only thing that matters as far as how much you charge in business is what you have to charge, okay? It doesn't matter what your competitors charge. This is what you have to charge to be profitable, because there's certain jobs that you're going to be profitable at that your competitors wouldn't, and vice versa. So you need the right jobs for you and your company at your pricing. Make sense? So you take your hours multiplied by your hour per hour, take all your materials multiplied by the markup. That's not how you find pricing. Again, I have other videos for this, so that's how you know how much to charge. Basically, essentially, you have to use your own numbers, calculate your overhead, your expenses, figure out how much hours that you have. You need to figure out your overhead cost per hour, your hourly cost per hour, add that together. That's how much you charge to the customer, right? And then you add materials times markup. And I'm sorry, I know I'm going fast, guys. I'm already looking. We're already at 30 minutes. That's crazy. All right, so we've been through the two biggest things so far is we don't get enough leads, and we're not selling jobs for enough. Those are two of the contractor killers. And third is we look the same as everyone else. We have the same offer. So again, this is the standard contractor. That's what every single contractor does. They do referrals, SEO, maybe they do Facebook ads, website, And let's just say, for instance, you as a standard contractor, and if you're doing this, don't it's fine. I'm not trying to throw shade or anything like that because everyone does this, but that's the point. It's about looking different, okay? Once you get a lead and then you call that lead and then you say, something like, oh, tell me about your project. They maybe say like a couple things and you say, okay, when are you free for an estimate? Then you drive out there, you go take some measurements, you give them a price. That is 90% of contractors' sales process. That's the problem, right? Because if you don't look different than your competition, then what happens? What do all of these things down below have in common? They are what we call commodities, right? For instance, if you want to get in the business of selling copper, well, guess what? Copper is copper. And there's this thing called the market rate. And it's basically the race to the bottom. It's whoever can produce copper for the cheapest is going to get the most business because at the end of the day, copper's copper, right? There's nothing different. Same thing. Let's just say, for instance, oil, right? If you get into the oil selling business, it's priced on a per barrel basis. You don't want to say, oh, my oil is the best oil. No, none of that. Same thing with gold, right? No, my product is gold. So what you don't want is you don't want to be looked at as a commodity. You don't want your customers to view you as the same thing as everyone else. Because then why? What is the only thing that they can compare you to? Because perception is reality. Just so you guys know, if you go and tell your customer, and this is the only thing you think makes you look different, is that you do good work and good service. What do you think all of your competitors are telling your customers? Hey, Mrs. Johnson, I do good work and good service. Oh, hi, Mrs. Johnson, I do good work and great service. No, everyone says the same crap. And so what's the only thing they can compare you to? You guessed it, price. Do you want to be the low price guy? No, we already talked about that. So that's why you want to look different. Now, how do you look different? These are the 4 pillars of looking different. Number 1 is you could have a different offer than anyone else, okay? You could have a different sales process. You could nurture your leads differently, and you could do a better job with brand. And so we're going to go into each one of those things now. So first is offer. Another thing that we're taking from Alex Ramosi is he came up with this amazing thing called the value equation. AKA, so just remember, guys, when you sell a product, let's just say that you're selling a fence, okay? You could sell a fence and your competitor can sell a fence, but how you structure it is called your offer. And that's what we're going to talk about, okay? So our goal is to increase the dream outcome, increase the perceived likelihood of achievement, decrease the time delay, and decrease effort and sacrifice. So we're going to go into these one by one, and then we'll revisit this, and it will make a lot more sense at the end. So dream outcome. So let's imagine that we increase the dream outcome. Customer calls us for a driveway, right? One contractor goes out and they show a picture of this. And they say, I can make your driveway look like this over here on the left. Versus another contractor says, I can make your driveway look like this. What product do you think is immediately more valuable, right? The product is the same. At the end of the day, what is it? It's a spot for a car to drive down a concrete path and park in a garage. Isn't that crazy how Americans and the rest of the world, we value something like this more? Because it doesn't do anything. It just looks different, right? That's it. But what would a customer be willing to pay for this or this? To be honest, the cheap customers, this is the crazy part. This is why I said, by the way, why it matters so much, who you're attracting to your business. Because a cheap customer, this is their dream. They actually wouldn't want this. Why? Because this is too flashy. It's actually going to lose them status by having a driveway like this because all their friends who are cheap asses are going to come over and they're going to see this. They're saying, why the hell are you trying to look so fancy? You look like a moron, versus an affluent person, they may or not want this. So you got to be careful. Obviously, you want to sell the right product to the right person, but you guys kind of get what I'm talking about. So how else can we have a more valuable offer, right? More valuable offer. Perceived likelihood of achievement. So that's here, right? We want to increase that. So for instance, if there is a doctor and you're going to get nose surgery, there's one surgeon who has been doing it for a year. Another surgeon has been doing it for 30 years. Who would you choose if you could choose either one of those and everything else was the same? The surgeon for the 30 years, right? Because you're like, man, dude, you've been doing it for 30 years. The other guy's only been doing it for a year. He's going to F my nose up. I'm going to look like a moron, right? So it's the same dream outcome, but the likelihood of achievement is higher. So how do we do that as contractors? Number 1 is reviews, okay? The more reviews, the better reviews that you have, the more likely that the customer is going to get their dream outcome. Man, everyone keeps sleeping on reviews. So that's one way, but everyone talks about reviews. That's why I don't want to focus on it. Number 2, warranty. This is by far probably the biggest thing that I do to stand out as far as my concrete company. You could choose whatever you want. I'm just teaching you guys the basics. And if you work with me, like personally, right, in our coaching and marketing program, I'll help you do all of these things. But you just pick and choose. If you're just want to take this and learn, that's fine. Go for it. But for me, I do warranty. Why? Because I do a 3-year warranty with my concrete. Granted, I have stipulations because we all know I can't guarantee against hairline cracks on concrete, right? At least you probably know that. But I guarantee my cracks don't get a certain size within 3 years. My competitor guarantees that they don't get a certain size within 1 year. But because of that, now I look better. My customer, they're like, oh my God, they're willing to stand behind their work for longer. Therefore, they must be better. Even though, to be honest, it's basically the same product as most of my other competitors, but I stand behind it longer, which means that also I care a lot more that it's done right the first time because it needs to stand the test of time, right? So now I'm going to look different than my competitors. That's one of my biggest things. The other thing, right, you could literally just charge more. So if you charge more than your competitors, even if your customer can't afford you, they're going to want to work with you more if money was not a factor, because they're going to view you as being more likely to give them the result that they want. Because again, your product, it's just going to look more valuable simply because you charge more. And then you could also do things like training certifications. Imagine in your offer, in your bid, if you say all of our technicians are certified by blah, 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 blah. I don't even know, because that doesn't really exist too much inside of my industry. And I don't know, it's just one thing I haven't messed with. But it's another thing you can definitely do, right? The goal is increase the likelihood of achievement. You want your customers to believe that if they hire you, then the percent chance that the job's gonna go well is much higher. So decrease time delay. A lot of you guys don't know this, but Domino's basically built up their whole entire business to thousands of locations because of this one thing. They said, okay, you could buy a pizza from Domino's or Pizza Hut, but Domino's, if you call us and you don't get your pizza within 30 minutes, then it's free, okay? So instantaneously, if you can decrease the time delay as far as how fast you can not only get to your customer's project, but also people don't want you to be on their project forever. If you say, if one contractor says, I can do your driveway in 1 day, and another contractor says it's going to take me 7 days because I'm a cheap ass and I don't have a skid steer, who do you think is going to appear more valuable? Who wants to have construction done on their house for 7 days versus 1? No one, right? So it's about doing work faster. It's about getting to the customer faster. And if you could do that, you're more valuable. Okay? Effort and sacrifice. Here's a great example. Gym owners struggle to get people to pay $50 a month for coming to the gym. Versus if you're a liposuction doctor, you get certain people to pay $10,000 for liposuction. Okay? So one is quite literally over 100 times more expensive. I don't know if I'm doing that math. 20 times more expensive. Same outcome. They both just want to look skinnier. Okay, but one requires way more effort and sacrifice than the other doesn't. It's super easy. So throughout your sales process, the goal is to make the customer feel like working with you will be a breeze. For instance, I cannot tell you guys how many of my competitors, they go out and do a patio and there's one sprinkler head in the way and they say, oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to touch that. You're going to have to hire a landscape company. Dude, I'm going to charge 30% more than you. Okay, so say a $10,000 patio, I'm gonna make $3,000 more, and it's gonna take my guys 15 minutes to move that sprinkler head. My goal, because I want a more valuable offer, is I am willing to go above and beyond to decrease the effort and sacrifice of my customer, because the right customer will be willing to pay a lot for that. Okay, more valuable offer. So that's number one. That's number one, how you can look different. You can just simply have a better offer. Number 2, sales process, the old way. We already talked about this. You get a call from a customer, ask them what they want, go and measure, send quote. Okay? So new and improved. People buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So we are flying here, but let me just show you guys the sales script that I use here at my concrete company and what works really for any contractor. Because again, I was just had this up on the screen. People buy from people they trust, and they trust people that they like. So we designed a sales process to make us look different. And last thing here, very quickly, I add one more piece, right? I don't go out and see every single person. Before we go out to do this estimate and sale, I add one step, and we call that the sales call, or you can call it the qualification call, right? We determine if someone is qualified to work with us or not, and on top of that, we are getting them to like us and know us better. So how do we do that? Let me show you guys. I'm going to go through this as fast as possible. So number one, obviously we have to answer the phone and we have to smile. Number two, we have to make sure that we're in a nice, quiet environment. And we say, hey, this is, Tyler with blah, blah, concrete. May I speak to them? Have I caught you at a bad time? They say no. First and foremost, I want to know why they called. I'd love to talk about your specific situation. What motivated you to reach out? Set expectation for the call. They say, oh, well, I got a driveway. Cool. Hey, is it cool if I walk you by really fast? What to expect for this phone call? They say, yeah, absolutely. Then I say, cool. Well, during this phone call, it's a get to know each other session. So the goal of this is that I'm going to get to know you and your project. I want to make sure that I understand all the details that you're really looking for, because if you hire us, I want to nail your project for you. And then vice versa, I want to give you a chance to know us a little bit more. I want to make sure that I know the things that are important to you and that I can deliver on all the things that you want. Does that sound good? Yes. Cool. So I'm going to ask you some questions. These are the 7 questions that I ask the prospect. How long have you been thinking about getting this done? What inspired and motivated you? When are you hoping to have this done by? Are you thinking of doing this now or collecting information? Have you done a project like this before? You guys can keep going. Then this is the big kicker. So number one, I ask them questions about why they reached out. Because again, I'm trying to sell them their dream outcome, right? I'm trying to sell them their dream outcome. And I'm trying to package the right offer. I'm trying to decrease their effort and sacrifice. How could you know what they actually want unless you ask them? Because someone wants a driveway to be functional, and that's why they're buying a driveway. Another person is buying a driveway because they're so sick of how their neighbors look at them because their driveway is ugly, okay? And I would sell 2 different products to that person, but how do you ever know what to pitch that person if you don't get to know them, okay? And by the way, they'll like you a hell of a lot more if you know them, right? Secondly, I talk about the money on the phone. I don't know why contractors don't do this. So when I said that I show people, or I do this qualification call, after I get all of the details about the customer and I know everything they want, why they want it, all that stuff. Now I say, great customer. So knowing what I know about your project, is it cool if we talk about money? They're going to say yes. I say, great. So I'm going to say, for the project that you're looking for, if we were to do, let's just say if they were like, oh man, I might want to do stamped, or I might want to do this certain thing. So if we're going to do this premium thing, you're looking at about $15,000. If we're doing this other thing, whatever, you're looking around $10,000. And then just shut up and do not say anything else again until they talk. And they're going to say, okay. And you're going to say, what do you think? Right? Because then at this point, we could go 2 different ways. Sometimes I give the price to someone and they say, well, let me go talk it over with my significant other. And I say, that's fine. And then I follow up with them later. Other times, people will say, oh, perfect. Man, that sounds great. And then you say, cool. Then you go out and now you actually do the in-person estimate. So I cannot tell you guys how many people that I filter through, and not in a bad way, who would have never bought from me no matter what, and I save roughly 1 to 2 hours on every single person that I filter out before I drive out there. Why? Because I don't drive out there, I don't do my show and dance, I don't type up this lengthy proposal, all to send it off, and they would have never bought from me in the first place, okay? And there's more to this, but we're going to keep the show on the road. Okay, the biggest thing is get to know your customers a lot deeper. They're going to get to know you a lot deeper. You're going to make a custom recommendation, right? A custom offer based on what they want, all right? And you're not going to go out and visit them unless they're a good fit. All right, so now you could look different with your offer. You could look different because you're going to have a different sales process than everyone else. Now we got lead nurture, okay? Here are the 4 pillars of lead nurture. Number 1 is how fast you get back to them. The faster you get back to them, the more money you're going to collect from the same amount of leads, all right? 2 is volume. If you contact a lead once and I contact a lead 8 times, who do you think is going to have a higher likelihood of closing them? Me. Number 3 is personalization, right? If they reach out for a driveway, sending them driveway-related content versus sending them generic content, right? Number 4, availability. Simply put, if you have more available times, if you're like, oh man, the only days that I do estimates are Wednesday at 5 o'clock, versus another contractor says, man, I'm available tomorrow. Would you prefer morning, afternoon, or evening? Who do you think is going to get more sales? Right. Person with more availability. So also keep in mind, I will show you guys very briefly part of how I do that. As soon as someone fills out a lead on my website, I send them to a booking calendar. So today's the 29th. Unfortunately, we are actually booked out for the next 2 days. I guess it's fortunate and unfortunate, right? I don't like to be booked out that much. That's just for, this is my salesman's calendar currently. I don't normally like to be booked out that much because obviously, like we talked about, the more available you are, the better. But anyways, as soon as my customer fills out a lead form, now they're going to a website where they can book a time that's convenient for them, right? So you want to talk about speed to lead, they're literally getting this instantaneously versus my other contractor people, they're going to fill out a form on their website and it's going to take them 2 hours to get back to them. And by the time that customer's already moved on, they've already booked an appointment in my sales team and we are going to win the business, okay? So I just wanted to show you guys a couple things that we do here. That way you can implement it in your own business. Okay, so that's lead nurture. Lastly is marketing and brand, right? This was actually I couldn't find the actual picture because I suck at taking pictures, but when we first started my business, I had an old beat up 2001 Chevy 2500. That's what we had. Versus now, this is what we drive around in. So if we want to look different from our competitors, who do you think is going to look more serious and like they have a more premium product? This person or this person? Pretty obvious, right? Same thing. Someone shows up and they have a logoed polo on versus someone who just shows up in some beat up like shirt. Who do you think the customer is going to trust more, right? You look more serious. Yard signs, etc. Website. Those are all the different ways to stand out. All right. So to briefly recap, if you want to scale your business, you want to make more money, you have to have all three of these things. You need a plentiful amount of leads because if you don't have enough, then you're not going to be taking on the right jobs. You're not going to be servicing the best people. You're not selling jobs for enough money. You're attracting the bottom feeder clients and you're not going to be profitable enough to scale your business. Third is you look the same as everyone else. So now we're going to do what I talked about before is what happens if you're just missing one of the three. Similar to concrete in the very beginning, right? If you have cement and aggregate, well then guess what? Your concrete's going to suck. If you have cement and just water, no aggregate, your concrete's going to suck. Blah, 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 blah. So let's just say if you charge high money, like you charge a lot, you look different, so you have 2 out of 3, but you have low leads. Then what happens? So you are going to sell jobs to more premium customers, but you're going to have a much lower lead conversion. And because you have lower leads and a lower lead conversion, now you're not going to be able to keep your crews busy. So over time, you're going to take on less than ideal jobs just to fill the schedule, right? Now you're entering to the vicious pricing cycle, not the virtuous like we showed before. You're going to be tempted to lower your price just to keep your crews busy. And even if you're profitable now, you're going to have a super hard time scaling and building out a team. Why? Because you don't have enough work, right? You don't have enough work. So if you charge a lot and you look different, but you don't have enough leads, then that's not going to help you, right? At best, you're going to have a high paying job. Now, let's say you charge a lot of money, you have a ton of leads, but you don't look different. So if you charge a lot of money, but you look and talk the same as all your competitors, you don't have a great website, you don't have a great brand, you don't have a good follow-up sequence, you're not emailing and texting them. Well, now your closing ratio is going to be extremely low, right? Because you're going to be perceived as a commodity. The only way that customers are going to see you as different is the price. Now your closing ratio is going to be extremely low. You're going to struggle with profitability. Again, over time, you're going to be tempted to lower your pricing and you're going to fall into the vicious pricing cycle. And again, you won't be able to scale. Who's going to be able to scale with a 5% closing ratio, right? Like that's just not possible. So that's second scenario. Now, lastly, is you're going to have a ton of leads. You're going to look different, but you're not charging enough. Now you're going to struggle with profitability, right? Because you're selling jobs, but you're not charging enough. So you're not going to have very much money. You're going to get super booked out over time because you have a ton of leads, but they're going to be with low profitable jobs. So you're going to be busy, but not be a business owner. You're not going to be able to afford marketing over time, which eventually will lower the amount of your leads, and you won't be able to hire a great team. You're going to have worse service. It's going to decrease your referrals over time, and you're going to have to spend more time babysitting because guess what? If you could spend $70,000 to have an office manager versus $40,000, what level of service do you think you're going to get out of that person that's representing your company? Who do you think is going to do better, 70 or 50? Exactly, right? So the point is, if you're not profitable, over time your service is going to suck, you're going to become a babysitter, the business will never be able to grow without you, and you're eventually going to fall into the vicious pricing cycle. So you guys see what I mean? If you have 2 out of the 3 of these, but not the third, then it does not work, okay? It does not work. You have to have all 3 in order to have a successful business. So that is exactly why I created Contractor CEO. To be honest, I've just started revamping how we do things. In the past, either all I would do is coaching or all I would do is marketing. And what I really realized is there were some of our customers that were absolutely crushing it and others that weren't, but the product was the same. And I went and backtracked and I thought, man, why are some people so successful and some aren't? And what I realized is if you are not doing all three of these things, then you are not going to be successful. And I've always known that, so I should have never let it happen. But anyways, what do we do here at Contractor CEO? We do your marketing for you. Okay, so we take over that piece because that's one of those things that you will never be able to learn well enough to do yourself. Not if you're going to implement a whole entire funnel, right? And remember, this is the way to actually do it correctly. So we're going to do your marketing for you. And then on the sales side, in the looking different side, that is where the coaching comes in and the pricing, right? So obviously we help people with their pricing. We go through this know your number sheet together. We build it out together. We make sure that you have a quick quote and all that. So essentially us at Contractor CEO, we help make sure that we tackle all three of these problems for you or with you, depending on what it is. So if you're interested, book a call with us, contractorceo.co. I'm going to leave a link down below in the description, and I will catch you guys in the next one.